The night you realize you have everything and still feel nothing is the most terrifying night of all. Elon Musk stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his sprawling Manhattan penthouse, gazing at the glittering skyline. The city buzzed below him like a living organism, thriving on ambition and exhaustion. Behind him, a party raged on, venture capitalists, tech moguls, celebrities, all sipping champagne and clapping him on the back as if proximity to his success could somehow make it theirs. His phone vibrated relentlessly. Notifications stacked up, stock updates, SpaceX launch reports, Tesla production alerts, Neuralink prototypes failing tests. His empire needed him every minute of every day. And yet, tonight, none of it mattered. He turned away from the window, picked up his drink, and stepped out onto the balcony. The cold October air bit into his skin, but he welcomed it. It made him feel something. "Mr. Musk?" His assistant's voice pierced the evening air. "There's a little package for you." "A package?" he repeated. "Here?" "Couriered directly. No return address." Curious despite himself, Elon took the plain brown envelope. Inside was a single piece of heavy parchment, handwritten in neat, flowing script. "The one thing you can't invent, invest in, or innovate your way to. If you want to find it, come to Wayfarer's End. No entourage. No press. No technology. Just you. Midnight train. Platform 13. Wayfarer's End?" Elon frowned. He had never heard of it. He pulled out his phone to search and found, bizarrely, that he had no signal. In the middle of Manhattan? Impossible. When he stepped back inside to ask his assistant about it, he found the party, the music, the lights, the people, had frozen like a glitch in a simulation. Glasses hovering mid-air. Laughter hanging in suspended animation. Only one figure moved. A boy, maybe 10 years old, wearing an old-fashioned newsboy cap and a threadbare jacket, stood at the edge of the room, looking straight at him. In his hands was a small model of a rocket ship, battered but clearly well-loved. "Don't be late," the boy said softly. Then he turned and walked through the frozen crowd, and vanished. Elon stared after him, heart-pounding. Was he hallucinating? Stress, maybe. Overwork. A microstroke. But even as he told himself that, the feeling in his gut, the same instinct that had guided him through a lifetime of impossible bets, told him otherwise. Against every rational fiber of his being, Elon grabbed his coat, slipped out a side door, and hailed a cab. Grand Central Station. Platform 13. Hurry. The cabbie glanced at him in the mirror. "You sure about that, buddy? Just drive." Grand Central was mostly empty at this late hour. Platform 13 was a shadowy, disused spur tucked behind heavy iron gates. As he approached, the old-fashioned clock above it ticked over to 11:59 p.m. A train, gleaming silver and impossibly pristine, slid soundlessly into the station. A conductor in an old navy blue uniform, complete with brass buttons and a peaked cap, tipped his hat. "Mr. Musk," he said, as if expecting him. "Your journey awaits." Without a word, Elon stepped aboard. The doors closed with a hiss. The train shuddered, then surged forward, straight into darkness. As the city lights disappeared, Elon glanced around. The carriages were lavish but empty. Old wood paneling, velvet seats, chandeliers swaying slightly as the train picked up impossible speed. Out the window, the world seemed to change, not just from city to countryside, but from present to past. He caught glimpses of horse-drawn carriages, gas lamps, cobbled streets, a world that shouldn't exist. And somewhere deep within, a thrill stirred. For the first time in years, Elon Musk was not in control. He sat back, heart racing, as the train roared toward an unknown destination, Wayfarer's End, and the answers to a question he had only just begun to understand. What do you chase after you've already caught the world? When the train finally screeched to a halt, it wasn't at a station. It was in the middle of a forest bathed in moonlight. Elon stepped off into the crisp air, half expecting the train to vanish behind him like something from a dream. But it didn't. It waited, quietly humming, like it knew its next destination was still unwritten. Ahead was a path lit by flickering lanterns strung between trees. No signs. No GPS. Just the soft crunch of leaves beneath his feet and the sound of wind whispering secrets through the branches. After 20 minutes of walking, he reached it, Wayfarer's End. It wasn't a town, at least not in the traditional sense. It was a village seemingly untouched by time, wooden houses with flower boxes, a cobblestone square, and a single large oak tree that stood in the center like a silent sentinel. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. And then he saw her. A woman, maybe in her late 60s, standing barefoot in the square, staring at him as if she'd been expecting him for years. "Elon Musk," she said, her voice steady and unshaken. He hesitated. "And you are?" "Clara. I keep the clock." "You keep the clock?" She pointed up. Above them, the ancient oak bore a brass pendulum, swinging silently, impossibly, with no mechanism to keep it going. In Wayfarer's End, time doesn't pass. It's Lent. Elon blinked. What does that even mean? She smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made him uncomfortable. Like she knew too much. Like she saw him, really saw him. "You'll find out. But only if you stop trying to measure everything." Before he could reply, the pendulum stopped. Just froze. So did everything else. Except Elon. The silence was suffocating. Elon stood alone under the frozen pendulum, the village around him suspended in an eerie stillness. Every instinct screamed at him to leave, to run back to the train, back to the familiar world of deadlines and domination. But something stronger rooted him to the spot, an old, nearly forgotten voice from inside. "Stay." Without knowing why, Elon took a step toward the oak tree. As he did, a narrow, hidden staircase revealed itself at the tree's base, spiraling downward into the earth. He hesitated, then descended. Underscore 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 underscore. The staircase opened into a dimly lit chamber. In the center stood an enormous, tarnished mirror framed by twisted roots and ancient wood. Its surface shimmered like water, reflecting not his present self, but a much younger Elon, no suits, no wealth, just a boy with messy hair and bright, curious eyes. The boy looked directly at him and spoke. "What did you lose to become who you are?" The words echoed through the chamber, piercing deeper than any criticism he'd ever faced. Visions flooded the mirror. A teenager building rockets from scraps, thrilled just to make something fly. A young man laughing with friends, dreaming of Mars, not millions. A brother's birthday missed. A mother's proud letter unread. A child's school play unseen. Each memory struck harder than the last, and Elon staggered backward. Somewhere along the way, he had traded wonder for conquest, connection for dominance. The boy in the mirror smiled sadly, then reached out, not toward Elon, but toward the heavy watch on his wrist. With trembling hands, Elon unfastened the watch, a gift from investors commemorating a $1 billion valuation, and placed it at the base of the mirror. The mirror rippled. And for the first time in years, Elon Musk felt lighter. Underscore 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 underscore. As he climbed back into the moonlight, the pendulum began to move again. Life returned to Wayfarer's End. Clara was waiting. "You gave up a piece of your measured life," she said. "Good. Now you can begin to find what was lost." Elon opened his mouth to ask what now, but Clara was already walking away, her voice carrying back to him on the breeze. Find the heart you buried. It's waiting for you. He followed her into the village's narrow streets, where others were stirring, people he hadn't noticed before, each seemingly trapped in their own frozen time until now. At the center of the square, under the oak tree, stood an old man with an easel and paints, working feverishly on a portrait. It was a painting of Elon. But not the Elon the world knew. It was the boy again, the dreamer. The old man looked up, his eyes twinkling. You forgot, he said simply. But it's not too late. The sun was setting over Wayfarer's End, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Elon stood beneath the great oak tree, the painting of his younger self still vivid in his mind. He held the worn notebook Clara had given him when he first arrived, its pages now filled with thoughts, sketches, and memories he had reclaimed during his time here. Clara approached him once more, her steps slow, her smile knowing. You are almost ready, she said, handing him a small, rusted key. What's this for? Elon asked. The last door you must open. She pointed toward the far side of the village, where a tiny stone chapel stood bathed in the last light of day. Elon hesitated, the key heavy in his hand. Then he walked. The chapel door creaked as he unlocked it. Inside, the only illumination came from a single candle flickering at the altar. The room was bare, except for a mirror, not shimmering like the first one he encountered, but cracked and worn, reflecting only fragments. Above it, carved into the stone, were the words, "The price of presence is the surrender of power." Elon approached cautiously. As he gazed into the broken glass, he didn't see the billionaire inventor or the legend. He saw a man, tired, yearning, human. And then, slowly, images appeared around him. Laughing with his children without a phone in sight. Sitting with his brother under the stars, talking about dreams, not deals. Mentoring young dreamers without expectation. Building not for domination, but for wonder. The final realization hit him with stunning clarity. He had measured his life by how much he controlled. But the moments that mattered most were the ones he surrendered to fully. Connection. Purpose. Community. Balance. Joy. These were not milestones to achieve. They were gifts to be embraced, available only to those who chose to be present. Tears blurred his vision. When he blinked them away, the mirror no longer showed broken fragments. It showed a complete reflection. Whole. Alive. Enough. Underscore 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 underscore. As Elon stepped back into the village square, he found Clara, the painter, and even the boy with the rocket waiting for him. You're ready, Clara said. The ground trembled slightly. In the distance, the silver train, the one that had brought him here, waited once more. Will I remember all of this? Elon asked. Only if you choose to, the painter replied. He turned toward the boy. Thank you, Elon said. The boy smiled and handed him the battered model rocket. Take it, he said. To remember why you ever looked up at the stars in the first place. Underscore 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 underscore. As the train carried him away from Wayfarer's End, Elon kept the rocket in his lap, his heart full in a way it hadn't been in decades. When he returned to his world, to the noise, the ambition, the expectations, he was different. He still built, still dreamed, still dared. But he also paused to listen, to laugh, to love. He gave time, the most precious currency he had, to those who mattered. And in doing so, he discovered the one thing all his billions could never buy: meaning. True connection cannot be engineered, it must be nurtured. Purpose is not a goalpost, it is a daily choice. Community is built not through influence, but through presence. Balance is not found, it's created. Joy blooms when ambition is tempered with gratitude. If you found something stirring inside you during Elon's journey, don't let it fade. Choose to build your own Wayfarer's End, wherever you are. To continue your journey of reflection and growth, consider these two powerful reads: The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama and Howard C. Cutler, A Guide to Finding Lasting Fulfillment Beyond Material Success, and Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown, a reminder that saying yes to what matters most requires the courage to say no to everything else. Take the first step, buy these books. Reflect. Start small. Because the real treasure isn't out there, it's already within you, waiting to be reclaimed.